What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Hope everyone is out there enjoying the Madden 20 beta weekend. We gave out over 30 codes via YouTube, Twitter, Discord, one weird guy on Facebook. Showed commitment, though. I felt like I got to reward the champ. I definitely want you guys to put on for the community here, the C4 community. There are feedback forums for the beta. It is paramount you guys give any and all feedback. I felt like last year I was participating in the Madden 19 beta. I think we got a lot of the simple common bugs erased from the game, so it was really, really smooth on launch. Madden 19's launch was way better than Madden 18 and Madden 17. I think the beta played a big part of that. So this year for Madden 20, they went all in. There's like double the amount of codes and beta opportunities from a year ago. So go out there and give a lot of feedback. So I want to give you guys a quick feedback, my own. I just want to vent, just want to talk and let you know how hype I am for the game, what I dislike about the game. I know you might be thinking to yourself, oh, C4 got the beta codes? Shill? Is he a shill? No. It is time. I can't show gameplay. You can't show any streaming stuff, which makes complete sense, but I'm allowed to talk about the beta this year, and I'm going to kind of break it down to you just a little bit, and I got some Q&A. Ask people on Twitter to ask some questions. I'll give you some answers. We're just going to talk about gameplay and franchise mode. There's no face of franchise. There's only so many teams you can play with. No ultimate team. I don't play ultimate team anyway, so I'll let you guys give some. I'm not going to give you all of my thoughts just yet, because you still got to have the good, the bad, and the ugly review when Madden 20 drops to help you guys make your purchasing decision. But I do want to go through, I put up my hours of playing Madden 20 right now, up there with just about anybody, and I feel like I have a good grasp of where it is, at least right now in the beta. We know, and we learned from Madden 19, things can change. The game can get patched to death, so hopefully that doesn't happen in Madden 20. And you know how that doesn't happen? Use the feedback forum. So we're going to talk about gameplay, and then we'll jump into franchise mode. I know we are a big-time franchise mode community. I'll tell you right now, just at face value before we get to the point, I think franchise mode didn't get enough love this year, but it got enough that it wasn't a slap in the face. And I think gameplay is where Madden spent a lot of its time, a lot of its resource, a lot of its development in gameplay and face of franchise this season. So we'll jump into the gameplay first and foremost. Generally, it is way smoother. You look anywhere right now on social media, and people are just complimenting how smooth the gameplay is. There's right now almost a campaign for people to vote right now on the feedback forums to keep the gameplay as it is right now. And I mean, you look back at Madden 19, I give the game a 7 out of 10 on initial review when I did the good, the bad, the ugly. That review had like, what, 100,000 plus total views? And I stand by that. When that game dropped, Madden 19 dropped, the gameplay was fun. Was it good? I mean, it was trending towards good. Was it great? Absolutely. Was it perfect? No. But it was good. It was fun. I had a fun time playing the game. I wasn't getting cheesed. It wasn't unrealistic. And the game got patched to death because people just the wrong people kept getting heard. And I feel like we as a community need to not let that happen. I don't want to throw the blame on the competitive community, even though that's kind of where I thought it came from, because a lot of the boo birds about the gameplay were from the competitive side. Now, that could just be me. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I could just be looking at the wrong tweets. But everyone knows. Everyone across all game modes can agree that Madden 19's gameplay got patched to death. And right now, Madden 20 feels incredibly, incredibly smooth. So what does that actually mean, though? That's just a buzzword, right? So for me, the gameplay issues that I felt were clunky, first up, was there's no, or at least less. I have yet to experience it with all the hours I've put in, but I guess technically it still could be there. I just haven't seen it. There's no that brick wall tackling. When you're trying to run the ball on 3rd and short, 4th and inches, 3rd and inches, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, when you have a clean break for that first down and then a safety linebacker comes out of nowhere, it's like you run to a brick wall. Like, it defies all physics because you don't have the fall forward trait or fight for extra yards trait. You know what I'm saying? Or the linebacker has big hitter or something like that. It keeps you from getting that first down, even though it is completely unrealistic. And it was so frustrating. If you watch any of my gameplays, I'd lose my mind when that happened. I did not see that happen in Madden 20. And if I honestly had to compare the run game right now in Madden 20, it would be that of NCAA 14. I felt like in NCAA 14, more often than not, you were getting the first downs when you were close to the line of scrimmage. I feel like that is right now where the Madden beta gameplay is at. That's where the run game is. And I feel like if we're going to be able to compare the run game, this also includes run blocking. It seems reasonably and relatively realistic. You're never going to have, especially with all the X factors and stuff like that, completely good run blocking, and I can't completely write off run blocking or say it's great right now because, you know, once it gets released to the community, there's going to be gameplay sliders that can fine-tune the experience. But looking at last year in Madden 19, where it might have been the worst run blocking ever in a gameplay, it's at least okay now. It's acceptable right now. It's playable, could use a little bit more fine-tuning. I think that there's some issues with, you know, we'll get to another point about this. Actually, we'll do it right now. We'll do it right now. I'm checking on my list. I think they need to add offensive lineman X factors. Right now, as far as I can tell, there's no X factors for offensive linemen, and the most powerful, in my opinion, X factor players are defensive linemen. The Khalil Macks, the Aaron Donalds. You know, I can only assume we know Aaron Donald, but Khalil Mack, you can only assume he's Von Miller. They're going to be incredibly overpowered, and you can't counter that. Right now, you can have double teams. You can have your running back chip in. You can just straight up avoid the X factor player. But great offensive linemen don't have those passive and specialist abilities to counteract the defensive linemen and then the OP. I think, generally speaking, when you guys play the game, the defensive line X factors, you're going to say right now that are incredibly overpowered. And I think they do need to add X factors for the offensive linemen to counter this. But generally speaking, I think once you get a good set of sliders, I think it's safe to say, from the beta gameplay alone, if I had to compare what the run game in Madden 20 feels like, it definitely is trending in the direction of NCAA 14. The passing, the releases, the audibles, it feels great. It feels realistic. It feels smooth. It feels quick. No really wonky throwing animations so far. So it's trending in the right direction, I think. That'll be a popular way to say trending in the right direction, because I can't say it's a for sure thing because it's only the beta. But I'm going to be trying to phrase everything I say as if it stays the way that it was from the beta, it's going to be enjoyed. I'm not going to say it's going to be renowned. I'm not going to say people are going to say it's the greatest ever, but it's going to be enjoyed and not a frustrating experience. So the run game looks good. Passing feels really good right now. Biggest thing for me when it comes to the passing game is leading the wide receivers back. A lot of us that are old school Madden players, I even go back to NFL 2K5, leading the wide receiver was paramount. Madden got away with that with all the weird catching animations and stuff like that. You couldn't just lead your wide receiver. Anytime you led your wide receiver, for example, in Madden 19, it was either thrown out of bounds as a weird animation, it'd be an interception. It would punish players that were making the right decision when you throw the ball to lead a wide receiver, though he can run onto it and make some plays after the catch. And it got away from that. Madden got away from that. But back in Madden 20, I can absolutely say, I don't have to say it's trending in the right direction. Absolutely, throwing a wide receiver into space, leading a wide receiver is in Madden 20, and that is huge, absolutely huge for passing gameplay. Trick plays are fun, generally speaking. You know, I actually had trouble finding the Philly special. Eagles aren't in the game, but the RPOs and stuff like that, they feel good against the AI. I only play against AI. I cannot speak to how overpowered they're going to be when you're doing like a user versus user scenario, so I only can say for like your franchise modes, it's going to be fun every now and again to get rewarded by calling a trick play at the right time and getting an explosive play. We have our first Q&A from @Sorcery. Do the new abilities make players feel unique? It absolutely does. And it's a positive and a negative. The positive from this is I think that this is something that Madden needs. I feel like as much as we want realistic features in franchise mode, like more relocation, like, you know, contracts, scouting, I still think at its core, Madden has struggled with this identity crisis of, does it want to be a pure sim game or does it want to be a video game? Does it want to feel like a video game? And I feel like take a stand. Either way, I think generally if they go one side, the community's going to enjoy it. And they went towards the video game side this year by adding the X factors. And it makes really, really good players incredibly overpowered. Aaron Donald will push your shit in. There's no other way to say it. He will ruin your day. Aaron Donald will ruin. I want that. I don't want Aaron Donald, more often than not, to play like anyone else on that defensive line. I don't want Aaron Donald to play like Salmon Fox. I don't want Aaron Donald to play like Michael Brockers. I want Aaron Donald to destroy my team if I am not properly adjusting my offense to stop him. And that's exactly what you get in this game plan. I feel like that is the good. It's going to make good players, when you're going up against the Mahomes, or you're going up against any of these big guys, they are going to make your day very, very unenjoyable unless you properly counteract it. So it adds that strategy in the gameplay. The negative of that is that I feel like AI play calling is still a big red flag. Generally speaking, all the teams that were available in the beta, they didn't feel like they're actual teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't feel like there's a whole lot of RPOs when you're going up against the Chiefs. When you're going up against the Saints, now they have Alvin Kamara. You would assume they'd use a lot of screen passes. That is how you best utilize Alvin Kamara. They weren't calling screen passes. They were just calling, you know, their standard plays. So definitely I could say right now, teams still don't call plays and it feel like you're actually playing that team in real life. Generally, it's a generalized gameplay experience from team to team, which it's annoying. I actually think that's a huge thing that needs to take priority in a Madden developmental cycle, is to make teams play and feel like how they actually do, so that when you go up against a team that absolutely has terrible wide receivers and terrible quarterback, they run the ball. They are going to run the ball 35 plus times. When you go up against the Baltimore Ravens, I want Lamar Jackson to run the ball 15 times. I want them to just have like 18 passing attempts total. I feel like in Madden 20, you're going to get Lamar Jackson throwing it 30-some times because that's just what's going to happen. They gotta fine-tune that. They gotta fine-tune that. And honestly, it doesn't seem like it would take that much of a developmental cycle to get to that point, but that would be a negative. We got another Twitter question. Chris asked, "Are ball carrier moves is overpowered? The spin move last year was ridiculous, and I'm embarrassed that I only found out how good the spin move was like a month ago. But generally speaking, ball carrier visions, ball carrier moves, spin moves, juke moves, trucking, unless you have an X factor, it's a lot more difficult, which I think is a big bonus. And I also think it should be easier if you have a player that is a superstar X factor ability in terms of running the ball, to be able to execute those moves and punish people and just put guys on ice and OP and cheese them. I think you should be able to do that when you have the rare superstar X factor type players. And if you don't, it's a lot more difficult. So I think generally speaking, yes, ball carrier moves are more difficult, which is good. Finn, the last Twitter question for gameplay is, are there super linebackers? And no, as far as I can see, we know that they've talked about this already, that they nerfed linebacker jumping. So unless you just blow a play and throw it right at the linebacker, or generally in the linebacker's area that he can realistically make a play on the ball, you got to be Gucci. There's no super linebackers, which is good because, I mean, for the most part, until really last year, there was like a nice 2-3 year period where super linebackers were essentially non-existent. I think Madden 20 is going in that direction. My biggest worry, though, finishing about gameplay, is it still seems to me we don't have a true mobile quarterback, but it doesn't look like mobile quarterback stats in the sim are going to be accurate. I think you're going to see really, really weird rushing numbers for Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson yet again, but hopefully it's the beta. We didn't really get to see much in terms of rushing quarterbacks. I mean, you had Patty Mahomes, who he didn't really rush a whole lot, which got me thinking, because, I mean, Mahomes is the kind of guy who gets you 300, 400, 500 rushing yards. He does scramble. You didn't see that, so that's a little bit of a red flag. Definitely something that I would like to get patched. If you're making feedback, make sure you put that in your little notes there. So then going on from gameplay to connected franchise mode. First up, the menus are updated. It's not a big thing. It doesn't require a lot of work, but we had a nice 3-year, 4-year period where the franchise mode menus were exactly the same. And with the general feeling about franchise mode is copy and paste, you literally couldn't make it look any more evident that that's the case by keeping the menus exactly the same. So at least they changed up it, and I like the new color schemes and stuff like that. The new rating scale is going to take some getting used to. We know, and they've been saying it time and time again on Twitter, that these aren't the ratings that are going to go at launch. You can definitely tell that there's some purposefully low ratings that they're just going to scramble, because ultimately it's a big marketing tool of the game, is doing the top 5 players at every single position. So that makes sense. I feel like generally speaking, the teams that you're able to play with in the game, like the 5-6 teams, those roster ratings are going to be pretty similar. Probably are going to be as close to release as possible. Teams that weren't included, they probably personally made them just not that great. There's no dev trait regression, which is good and bad. Way more good than it is bad. Obviously, you're going to have some weird scenarios where Patty Mahomes is going to be 45 and still have the bazooka. You might only have 81 throw power, but he'll have the bazooka so he can chuck it 97 goddamn yards down the field. But generally speaking, you're not going to have that whole, I won Defensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, had 14 interceptions, and I lost my dev trait. So that is good. I'm glad that that's generally gone. There's no coordinators. I mean, we kind of already knew this, but now it's verified. Kind of is, because of the scenarios. Your DCs and your OCs can ask you, like, oh, yeah, we got to stop J.J. Watt, or, oh, we're going in, and we got to shut down Andrew Luck. Like, stuff like that can come up. But still no offensive and defensive coordinators. I don't want you guys using the feedback forums to talk about features that you want in the game, but maybe just slide that in there that, hey, I kind of like you guys how you tease the coordinators in the scenario engine. What about full-on coordinators next year? At Ben, he asked us, how is the drafting? And generally speaking, the drafting is good. I will also just add in for the offseason, Miami and Washington don't ruin free agency anymore. You don't have the Dolphins and the Redskins bidding 9,000 points on players. Cool. The contracts feel a lot more realistic. I know Moonlight Swami worked really hard on doing that, and they feel, generally speaking, really good. I don't know how much more we can jump into that, but contracts feel good in free agency. The bidding process is day and night better than what it was in the last couple of Maddens. Draft grades have been tuned. So now that the draft grades used to be in Madden 19, they'd be compared to players around the league. So if I draft a running back that has, maybe running back's not the best one. If I draft a corner that has 82 man coverage across the league against like the Pat Peets and the Darius Slays and the Jalen Ramseys, you know, he's not gonna look that great. You might only say he has a B grade man coverage because he's compared against everyone in the league. Now those draft grades that you get are compared against rookies. So 82 man coverage for a rookie is really, really good. So you'll be an A- man coverage grade in Madden 20. So I feel like having the rating scale compared to other rookies versus comparing it against the league as a whole is going to be a much more enjoyable experience. If that's really the only thing they added into the scouting mechanism, but it was something that I think will be beneficial to the franchise community. And last but not least, we got a little bit of fog of war that you won't know if you have a superstar X Factor or superstar player until you get X amount of snaps. That's kind of cool. They could expand it. I feel like generally speaking, they should just make it so you don't find out your player's dev trait until anyone's dev trait until you use them for X amount of snaps. I feel like we're at least getting something of fog of war. If you don't know what fog of war is, look into it. I'm not going to go into, I talked about this already actually like last year, why it needs to get added because it was a huge new feature in the NHL franchise. But I feel like fog of war is going to be the direction that franchise mode trends in the coming years, and it's going to be huge for franchise mode. It's absolutely a lifesaver if they can implement an NCAA style coaching carousel and fog of war. Franchise mode is going to be awesome. That is how you save franchise mode right there. There's no new relocation teams, which is, it's so, like, I don't know, man. I'll tell you right now, that killed my hype just a little bit because I was just hoping, give me even like 3 or 4 brand new teams so that I could use them for my franchise mode in Madden 20, but I'm gonna have to probably reuse a team. Not fun at all. And then we're gonna finish up franchise mode. We're gonna finish up the video with a question from Oliver. He says, is there a renewed commitment to connected franchise mode? And I will say this. Overall, if we're talking about Madden 20, I'm going to say that the biggest priority for the hardcore player, was getting the gameplay right. It wasn't adding a whole bunch of new features into franchise mode. It was getting the gameplay right. I think generally speaking, as a franchise mode community, we're getting more in terms of an update than what we did in, say, Madden 18. When it was an absolute slap in the face. We're like, oh, here's offline draft boards. But I think generally speaking, if you're trying to compare franchise mode new features, I might give the edge to Madden 19 because of all the archetypes and stuff. That, you know, I mean, we did get the scenario engine in franchise mode. There's, you know, the little bit of fog of war here and there, the ratings and the dev traits and stuff. But I think the consensus is that Madden 20, they put the time to try to get the gameplay right. And it's going to be very, very annoying with the gameplay being so, I'll say it's so good right now. Is if they spend all the time in Madden 20 making the gameplay right, and then yet again they fall victim to patching the game to death and getting the gameplay to a point where it's just not fun, not realistic, and a chore to play. So that's always a concern. Make your voices heard with what you like in the gameplay so it stays in the game. And I think generally speaking, it's only the beta, but I think that Madden 20 is going to be better than Madden 19. And if it's better than Madden 19, could be regarded as the best Madden on next-gen console. That's about as far as I'm going to stick my neck on the line in terms of a review. But like I said, once the game gets fully released and stuff like that, I will do a big on the good, the bad, the ugly review for Madden 20. So if you guys have any other questions, I will try my best to answer them. If there's enough, I might do another video. If not, my plan right now is just to try to answer them in the comment section below. I hope you guys are getting ready and hyped for Madden 20. And I hope if you're your first time stopping by, you want to stick around for the Madden 20 train here on the channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.
Money I'm spending, I'm out and I'm shopping. You talking that shit, well you talking and talking. Look at my options, look at me dropping. Ass in the game, like who are you stopping? Not me, not me, not never. Not me, not me, not never. Not me, not me, not never. I'm way too clever. Look at the kid, Mr. Consistent, I'm doing it big. Way too persistent on taking